The Fozzie era is over, folks. We are now in Razer time. Scott Robertson has already officially started his time as All Blacks coach. Who are 5 players that he needs to back in his early time, and especially as All Blacks coach? Remembering there's a bunch of guys taking sabbaticals, a bunch of guys off overseas, and a bunch of guys retiring from international rugby. So Razer has got some decisions to make. For this one, I've written up a piece for Planet Rugby, so check that out in the description as well. There may be some stuff that I forget to mention here, which is down in the article. There's also plenty of good articles over at Planet Rugby. It's a good kind of rugby hub. But yeah, 5 players Scott Robertson needs to back. And you guys can let us know your thoughts on who you reckon Razer could have in his squad and any potential bolters. One of them is a pretty straightforward one, and I reckon that's Dmac. Damian McKenzie needs to get the backing in the number 10 jersey. He didn't really get that much consistent game time as All Blacks 10 in the kind of Rugby World Cup year. He started that one game against the Aussies in Dunedin where things didn't go that well. But you feel like he needs what he gets at the Chiefs. He needs week in, week out chance to show what he can do. And the fact that Bodie's off to Japan for a short term and Richie Mo'unga's off to Japan longer term, now is the chance for Damien to get that kind of front running. He's a bit younger than those other 2 guys. Like Bodie's like 32 and apparently a fullback under Fozzie anyway. And Richie's 29. Dmac's not that much younger. I think he's 28. But going into a World Cup, potentially like 32-ish. Maybe about the right age frame for a guy leading the World Cup campaign. I mean, 4 years is a long time. There's certainly going to be youngsters putting their hand up between now and then, but you would feel like in the immediate future, Dmac needs to get the backing of the coaches. He's the most experienced guy we've got without chucking somebody absolutely into the deep end. And just seeing if he's got the chops, man. He's certainly a talented footballer. And I reckon he's a guy that needs to get a bit of backing. Bit of game time at 10 for Dmac, I reckon. Another guy who is a Crusaders familiar guy is old Cullen Grace. He's an All Black. I think he had like 3 or 4 minutes against Australia back during the COVID days, but never has quite made the All Blacks again since then. Loose forward, usually number 8 for the Crusaders, has played a bit of 6 in his time, can cover lock. And with Adi Savia off to Japan for the start of 2024, he's certainly got a good chance to put himself in a good position. Hoskins Satutu is still in New Zealand under contract for at least another year. He's another potential kind of number 8. Likewise, Akira Ioane is going to be here in New Zealand. So there's still plenty of good loosies here in New Zealand, but you feel like with the Crusaders connection, age-wise, he's only 23. He had a bit of an injury in 2023. Speaking of 23s. So it's not been all kind of plain sailing for him. But yeah, he's a bloody good number 8. And I will look to see how long he extends his contract for with New Zealand Rugby, because the Super Rugby squads are getting announced in a few days. You would think at 23 years old, if he's not getting All Black selection fairly soon, he's going to take some money somewhere else. Apparently he's talked about it thus far, saying he's not interested in overseas offers. As I said, only 23 years old. You would think he's wanting to get back in black. The fact that he can play number 8, devastating well for the Crusaders. He knows Razer. He can cover other positions when needs be. Age range is in the right area. You feel like he's a guy who needs to be given some backing to take another step forward. Another guy I'm going to say maybe needs a bit of backing, and he's in a similar position to Dmac as old Dalton Papali'i, with Sam Cane there as the captain. Dalton's obviously had to play second fiddle. He's been given a weak crack at times when Kane's been injured. I think he's looked pretty good. He's only 26, so he's certainly got an age advantage on Sam Cane, who's 31, looking at a kind of whole new World Cup cycle. I mean, there's Tom Christie as well, who Razer my like from the Crusaders, but for a guy who's been at the international level, had some starts, and also been on the fringes when there's been other guys in the squad, you feel like Dalton, it's maybe his time at 26 years old, going into the next World Cup in his late 20s, early 30s. You would feel like it's a time for him to to get a bit of regular time at 7 as well. Remembering Sam Cane's taken a sabbatical start of 2024. Dalton's going to be here playing for the Blues, so Dalton will probably be in the front running. Remember, like when Dmac went to Japan for that year, when he came back, he was kind of at the back of the queue. So that could potentially happen with Sam Cane as well. Don't know what Razer's position is going to be on Sam Cane, but Dalton's an absolute tackling machine. He's internationally tested. I think he's up to the test. And like I said, going into a World Cup cycle, if you want a guy to be at the peak of his powers in 4 years, he could be your guy to be the number 7. Another one with a Crusaders connection, who's probably going to be an easy pick for Razer, is Tamaiti Williams. He's only just been given a shot at international rugby under Ian Foster towards the end of his time as All Blacks coach. He knows Razer really well from his years at the Crusaders. He's only, 23 years old, and he's 140 kilos. Props both sides of the scrum. Nepo Lalala is off to France, and he's not going to come back to New Zealand and play rugby. Some would argue that he's already kind of fallen down the pecking order. That tight head, they was deploying Williams more as a loose head in the kind of latter stages, but he's played, I think, more probably rugby at tight head for the Crusaders than loose head. But yeah, like I said, pretty capable both sides. Good around the park for a man his size. He's deceptively mobile. So, Tamaiti Williams could even potentially be a starter. We'll kind of have to wait and see, because Lomax has been good, De Groot's been good. Those guys are the incumbents, and I think pretty rightly so. But Tamaiti Williams at 23, he's a big unit, and he's only going to get better, man. Props don't peak until probably closer to 30 years old. So you feel like there's a lot to come from this guy. And totally kind of different edge of the size scale is old Cam Roigard. Now, the number 9 one's going to be an interesting one, because it's one curious thing about Razer's time at the Crusaders is he's never really had a world-class 9 at his disposal, and it's not stopped him from winning Super Rugby title after Super Rugby title. Like, he's had regular All Blacks at 10, and Richie Mo'unga, he's had regular All Blacks, locks and loose forwards, Scotty Barrett, Sam Whitelock. Some of the Crusaders loosies have kind of been in and out of the mix. In recent years, they kind of had a fewer loosies in the All Blacks mix anyway. But All Blacks props, outside backs, but they had Bryn Hall for a long time, Mitch Drummond for a long time. He's never really needed that kind of like Aaron Smith level 9 to still get the job done. Cam Roigard's been playing bloody well. His ability to attack is just, I don't know if we want to go with world class just yet, because he's still not had enough time at test level, but bloody good. So he's not got the same passing game as Aaron Smith, obviously. Not many people do. But yeah, for a guy who's already got that natural X factor, I think he's played 5 tests and got 4 tries. His scoring run for the Hurricanes last year was insane. And if you feel like there's a coach who's going to be able to get the best out of a guy's natural abilities, it's Razer with Cam Roigard, eh? So, yeah, there's a question mark how things go at number 9. I mean, Fakatava is going to be putting his name in the mix. Finlay Christie's kind of one of the incumbent guys, but the senior guys of, Perenara, Smith, and Weber, who were the kind of 3 guys for quite some time, that era is done. And it may be that Roigard gets the backing. I would have thought so, just given that he genuinely has that kind of X factor that very few halfbacks have. But as I said, Razor's been dealing with guys who are just more kind of solid distributing team players in the past. So yeah, it's going to be a curious one to watch, but I reckon he deserves Razor's backing. So there you go, folks. That's my 5. Remember, I've written up a Planet Rugby piece for this one, so check that out down in the description. And also, what Razer didn't need to do was sneak in the back way to a university to go check out some flowers, which I did when I was back in China in April. I was denied at the front gate by the guards. So I followed a lady who took some money from me, took me into a tunnel towards oncoming traffic, and then tried to sneak me in the back way. If you want to check that out, 2 cents on tour. Up there. Down there. It was pretty random. Different from whiteboard rugby chat. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.